New Pokémon Snap is likely to be one of Nintendo's big tentpole releases this year. The game, developed by Bandai Namco in collaboration with the Pokémon Company, is a cute, non-violent game about creativity and cartoon animals. As such, it's hard not to be reminded of Nintendo's big, cute, non-violent game about creativity and cartoon animals from last year. The question is, does New Pokémon Snap have the potential to measure up against Animal Crossing New Horizons? Or indeed, can it? The game has several things going for it, but it may crucially lack a few of the definitive features that made New Horizons such a big deal during the summer of 2020, before we all discovered Fall Guys or Among Us. And indeed before we were all disappointed by a certain Cyberpunk game. It could be argued that Animal Crossing New Horizons was the definitive game of 2020, a year when we all just needed a break, and an opportunity for some simple, relaxing, and unabashedly wholesome gameplay. Wholesome games as a genre have exploded in popularity in recent years, providing an alternative experience for those who are just tired of endless shooters and action games. Animal Crossing is among the most commercially successful of these games, and let's face it, even Nintendo didn't expect New Horizons to go as big as it did. Said Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa, "The initial sales of Animal Crossing New Horizons have greatly exceeded our expectations. We were targeting the current sales numbers for the game's lifetime, considering fans have been waiting such a long time for this game, but it all happened at a much faster rate than we anticipated." Now, while Nintendo may occasionally zig when the industry zags, the company knows a bona fide hit and the potential for a long-running trend when they see one. While New Pokémon Snap was in development long before Animal Crossing New Horizons changed the way that company thinks about non-violent games, I can't help but suspect that everyone involved is fully aware of just how popular the game could end up being, considering the size of the wholesome game fanbase that owns Nintendo Switches. It's not going to have escaped anyone's notice that this could go just as big, especially considering its connection to the ever-popular Pokémon franchise, and the fact that the original Nintendo 64 Pokémon Snap is such a beloved retro title. Ostensibly, Animal Crossing's popularity comes down to its charming, relaxing gameplay, and here, New Pokémon Snap similarly shines. Pokémon Snap is essentially a shooter with no stakes. You can try as many times as you want, go as slowly or as fast as you want, and there's never any pressure to photograph every single Pokémon on a given run. I mean, obviously the stakes get higher and the stress levels get more tense as the game progresses, but that does depend on how you want to play it. No one can save you from your own completionist tendencies. I personally would love to see more of this, more games that reimagine traditionally violent genres as more laid-back, peaceful experiences. Kind of like that Doom clone that was actually all about getting goats to fall asleep on Noah's Ark. Let's have more of that. New Pokémon Snap also offers a wonderful outlet for creativity. Where in Animal Crossing New Horizons the goal is to decorate and personalise your home and your island, in New Pokémon Snap you're encouraged to show off your shutterbug skills by taking dynamic photos of wild Pokémon. It's a game that rewards players for trying their best, and this may well end up being the key to the game's long-term popularity, provided players are willing to overlook the one thing that Snap doesn't provide, which was key to New Horizons taking the world by storm. There's no getting around the major factor in Animal Crossing's success. It was 2020, everyone was staying home, and the simple, non-violent game was a way to connect with friends over the internet. It provided a social experience where none were available otherwise. It certainly helped that the game was sweet, non-violent, and friendly, but as the popularity of Among Us showed later in the year, none of this was necessary. These two games are about as different as possible in terms of the level of stress they inflict upon the player, yet both succeeded because we all spent 2020 desperately looking for some way, any way, to connect with fellow human beings. New Pokémon Snap does not have such an expansive multiplayer mode. Nothing in the game is tailored around letting friends hang out in a digital space. Nevertheless, New Pokémon Snap does feature online functionality, which could end up helping foster a sense of community. Nintendo has now finally realised the potency of online play. Let's be honest, up until 2020, even as the company begrudgingly rolled out a paid online service, this was never Nintendo's primary goal. And that's fair enough, online gaming just wasn't their thing. But it's hard to ignore Animal Crossing, and the enormous impact of online play on the game's sales figures. Super Mario 3D World was heavily marketed, in the UK at least, around a bunch of lads playing Mario Online together. This week, Nintendo announced an online update to Mario Party, which I don't think we'd ever have received if it weren't for Animal Crossing. I suspect that Nintendo gets it now. We could well see a few more online-heavy games in the coming years to go along with existing fan favourites like Splatoon. In the meantime, New Pokémon Snap is not bereft of an online social feature, and in fact it takes advantage of a key feature which has benefited several Nintendo games in the past. When speaking about how now was the time for a new Pokémon Snap, director Haruki Suzaki said, "The idea of photography has changed so much in the past 20 years. Combined with the new Nintendo Switch hardware, we thought that it was the perfect time to create a new version of Pokémon Snap, and that's why we started the project." Remember photography from 20 years ago? Oh, it was painful. Sorry, hipsters and analog fans. You would have 24 photos to carefully, very carefully snap, and then you'd have to send off the photos to be developed, or you could do it yourself if you were a nerd, and then you'd have to hope that your compositions came back okay, and that your finger wasn't over the lens or something. In adapting the photography experience of the time for Pokémon Snap, the original Jack and Beans team at HAL Laboratory thankfully ditched most of these awful elements. But they certainly didn't have the foresight to predict how smartphones and the internet would reimagine the entire experience. Now, the human race takes 1.5 trillion photos per year. That's collectively, not each, by the way, although going through my cloud storage I sometimes feel like I have taken 1 trillion photos every year. Many of these pictures end up in the new home of photography, social media. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Parler, okay, maybe not Parler, but the rest of them. Maybe even some on Tumblr if that's still your thing. We're used to sharing photos far and wide. And if you ask me, part of Animal Crossing New Horizons' success came from the word-of-mouth power of pretty Instagram photos. Someone works hard to make their beautiful little island, they snap a screenshot, share it online, and suddenly all of their friends want to try out the game as well. Creative games like Animal Crossing are why Nintendo begrudgingly added the share to Twitter button to their console in the first place, after their own attempts at a me-themed social media network ran out of steam. RIP Miiverse, you will be remembered. And of course this feature feels tailor-made for new Pokémon Snap. Nintendo couldn't have possibly planned it better. So as your timeline fills up with adorable photos of Pokémon, bear in mind that you're subtly being influenced to want to get the game yourself. We saw the same thing with the popularity of Super Mario Maker on the Wii U, although I feel like the novelty had worn off a little by the time the Switch sequel rolled around. Nintendo's working on a clever little niche with their creativity-fueled games that are just begging to be shared on social media. So while new Pokémon Snap lacks the kind of immersive wish-you-were-here role-playing multiplayer that won Animal Crossing New Horizons such a wide audience, I can't help but feel like this game is going to end up being a similarly big hit. It might not quite reach the heights that New Horizons achieved at its peak, but that cutesy, low-stress, creative gameplay is going to do gangbusters once it hits the Twittersphere. I mean, I say low-stress. I am quite looking forward to seeing this game just obliterated by speedrunners. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to DualShockers for more meandering editorials. Be sure to like and share and subscribe and do all those wonderful things. Please. Thank you. Bye.